If it wasn't so serious, it would have been laughable. Schroeder and Huxtable eventually got through, but no doubt there was some choice language being uttered out there at the time. Some drivers lost as much as 25 minutes. Berthold and Costain knew nothing about it, and nor did they care. They were steaming toward a day's fastest clocking on Loop 1 of 1 hour and 49 minutes, and that gave them some daylight to play with. Cox and Tersteger were on a mission themselves and were only 60-odd seconds back of the Copco team, and with a cautious approach, it looked like he was heading for the championship. Their Motorrad stablemate Evan Hutchison and his co-driver Kim Bergman were third fastest on the first loop, but they were driving on the edge and holding very little back. Still, there was more than 220 k's to go. The fire engine red Nissan of Grobler was setting the pace in the production car class, but his teammate Voss was certainly closing the gap, and the race was on. The 2002 Drivers' Champion had the bit between his teeth, and he was galloping. In amongst the trees and the pine needles of the escarpment forests, the special vehicles were due to be slightly slower, and that's how it proved to be. However, Gibson, with an improved suspension setup, was flying along. Variawa and Van Zyl had started off in 9th in class, but they were already making a big move. Meanwhile, Corbett Jr. was holding station, but again wrong-slotted. Luckily, neither of these little tete-a-tetes cost him much time. Cronje and Birkin were due to challenge after taking a while to sort out small problems with the car in the early part of the season. However, the trend continued. A sump bolt dented the steering rack, and they lost power steering. The Super Pave back with Robert and Gareth Walker aboard was enjoying a unique experience. Driver swaps with every loop. This time it was Rob at the helm. The forests and its low-lying mist at least meant that the dust was a forgotten factor, but not for long. The Rafsabat of Nardis Alberts and Colin Hunter revelled in the conditions. While the Duplessis and their Jimco had dropped a few places from 4th down to 6th. The other Ford SP with Rob Gurney and Graham Steinbank did the honourable and commendable thing and stopped to help Berthold and Houghton, who'd got stuck in a rut, and it had cost them a few places. And as the Castrol Toyota tried to make its way out, the starter motor had packed up in the process. Off-road racing's kinky sense of humour at play yet again. Rutherford and Doubtfire came into the viewfinder next in the forest, and they'd flown around the first loop, leading Class S comfortably. John Moore and Ashley Thorne in the Leoconics Internet Free Spirit sported lucky number 13 and were rock solid. Johan and Etienne Besaidnout in the Edenco Bat were 24th after the prologue, but they were steady on their way to the first designated service point after 124 Ks. The Space Frame vehicles are amazing over the tough tracks, and none more so than John Weir-Smith and his co-driver Jaco Lopes's Super Team Jimco, but they had a mountain to climb. They'd lost more than 10 minutes on the prologue and were battling against old Father Time. Coming into DSP, Jannie Visser and Joks Leroux in their Castrol Toyota were 37th overall, but they were having drama, with Brandon Harker storming through the field after his earlier gearbox trouble. Musaji and his nav Rayon Bodiano were 18th overall, but climbing up the special vehicle rankings. In Class B, it was still the happily married man Ernest Corbett and his son-in-law Warwick Goosen who were leading with a little help from a photographer and fan. They took the right turn. Back at DSP, though, it was Gary Berthold who got there first, clocking a super fast time. The Actors Copco crew were, understandably, very happy.
Yeah, I think we're just maintaining a good pace. That's the aim for today. We're keeping it on the road. We're not making mistakes, and just keep a consistent pace. Fortunately, we've got no dust, which gives us an advantage. So we want to keep it like that.
Going into the forest, strategy from here in?
Yeah, look, we accept that the four-wheel drives are generally a bit faster than us in the forest, but we just want to maintain a consistent pace and let them race their race. We've made up about 5.5 minutes on them so far, so we've got a bit of a buffer.
Cox was the next man back at the pit area, and the Dakar Rally star was obviously happy to have conserved his motorbike bat and got back to the Leidenburg Rugby Club grounds, ready to tackle the second and third loops. His teammate and manager Hutchison with Koa Kim Bergman was next to appear, making it a very solid showing for the team with a black and silver livery.
We're having a really fantastic day, and I'm just saving the car, and you know, today is the most important day for me, man. It's possible to win the championship today, and you know, I've got to just use my head and not damage the car, and it's an absolute fantastic race. The marking's unbelievable. We haven't made a mistake all day, and honestly, it's I must be honest that coming to this race once again from doing the 1,000 last year, you know, we had the big race last year. It's great to be back here, and I think it's one of the nicest races that we have on the calendar.
Gibson and Brown were next in the big absolute bat, and they were very eager to have a few small things set up in their 15-minute DSP break. But the big surprise of Loop 1 came when Voss pitched up before Krobler did. The Nissan man recorded a 1 hour and 55-minute clocking to finish ahead of his more illustrious teammate.
Hannes had a problem about 20 k's out with his power steering, so yeah, we had to be stopped and asked him, and we couldn't help him, so we went past him, yeah.
And strategy from here on in, terrain maybe more suitable to the four-wheel drives now?
I hope so. We've got the forest section coming up. We've just been passed by one of the space frames, which we need to try and get ahead of before the forest, because we should be quicker than them there. So I hope we can, because then we can probably catch the frames in front of us, if we can get a free run through the forest.
While the Nissan crew worked frantically at trying to correct the damage in their pen, it was more of the same for Mark Cronje in the Toyota enclosure.
Up until when we had the power steering problem, the car was going fantastically well. We had a clean run. We just picked our way through the rocks and through the rough and just took it easy. And yeah, it seemed to have paid off. We see a lot of bystanders next to the road. Guys are obviously pushing too hard.
On the forest section, you will most probably be able to really make up a lot of time.
Yeah, I was really looking forward to the forestry stages, because that's sort of my forte. But unfortunately, yeah, let's see how the lateness goes.
And it cost the young track star. For Ford, it was rough.
It's a lot rougher than I thought it was, but this Ford Ranger is amazing. We're just hammering it, and it is taking everything that we can throw at it. It's absolutely amazing.
Strategy from here on in?
We're just going to keep as it is. We're not thrashing the car too much, and we're just keeping it fairly tidy, but we're just going to carry on with that. Same strategy.
For the Toyotas, it was also hard going.
It's very rough out there, and we seem to be a lot quicker than the Ford in the rough, which is nice. They did stop and help us. Our starter motor stopped working. They actually gave us a tow, which is very sportsmanlike. It's a hell of a nice thing for them to have done. And now we've just got to keep going, keep a nice pace, try come in second or third, you know.
Further back, there was the usual frantic scramble to repair what the drivers had done to the cars. And spare a thought for those tireless mechanics who repair and then repair some more. Some drivers were worried about their hair, while others just wanted a last word.
Hello.
And the rest of them just went about their business. In the Ford camp, there was some refitting to do. Woolridge and Schultheimer had broken an output shaft on the front differential, and it gave them a bad limp. For Kutsela Baskachny, a small problem just needed a little attention.
Yeah, it's only a small problem on the wheel bearing. We are fixing it as a precautionary measure. Rather than taking a chance, we've got a fast loop now. But this last loop is going to be this rough one which we did now, which was a horrible one from a bucky point of view. I think the guys in the specials enjoyed it. But yeah, we're there. We'll go. It lost some time this morning with the guys being stuck in front of us here in the mud. And we had to find alternative routes, so that cost us a couple of places and actually nullified any position which we had in the prologue. But yeah, we'll be going and see how it's going so far. It's going good.
Ford SP navigator Kenny Schultheimer's worried look was there for a reason. the stricken Ranger was taking strain, and at a time when they really needed it to come through for them.
Yeah, a bit of disappointment. 15 kilometers out, we've broken a drive shaft, a front diff output shaft. So it's kind of like put us out. Not out the race. We'll continue. We're going to fix it. We've done the 120 k's in two-wheel drive. So we lost about 45 minutes changing it because we had to take off the whole lower control arm to get the actual shaft out and get it all back in again. But we've got another part. We're going to put that in again and get four-wheel drive and head out again.
For the Castrol Toyota team, the Dealer 400 is a flagship event.
Yeah, I think it's important if you look around and you see the kids with the flags and T-shirts and everything. I think it's a brand image, and we're proud to be part of the Toyota family. And yeah, we put that over to our community as well.
Vehicle and asset finance from Absa, overcoming all finance from